Operations Management. That school is located in the College of Economic and Management Sciences, and I will be the facilitator for this morning session. Let me first by welcoming you to Africa Operations Management Conference 2025, the conference that you have all been waiting for. And I can assure you, you are at the right place. And this is where AOMC 2025 is taking place. Let me start by reading the safety protocols that you need to observe throughout the conference. This is aimed at making sure that you are safe at all times and that your health and wellness it's taken care of. General information. The closest bathrooms are located next to the coffee station in the lobby area. In other words, when nature calls, you just exit and then you can ask the people who are helping with the registration to direct you to the restrooms. Glenbum is a non-smoking facility. Smoking is permitted on outside patios. Lunch will be served in our main restaurant down the corridor through the glass doors. And I'm sure when such time arrives, you will be directed to where lunch will be. Tea and coffee or tea or coffee station available outside your conference room in the entire day. So whenever you feel like you need a cup of tea or coffee, just go outside and get yourself sorted. Safety and security. There are 13 first aid boxes on the property. One of these are located in the conference center. If you feel ill, please report to the reception immediately. Headache tablets are for sale at the main hotel reception. If at any time you feel like you are having a headache, you will be sorted at the reception. Please be careful while walking on the property. There are a lot of uneven areas. Please do not feed or engage the monkeys and baboons on the property. They are dangerous animals. Eskom will not get us down. The entire lodge is run on a backup generator. Please see load shedding schedule posted on the doors. So don't worry about Eskom and the load shedding, that it's sorted. Conference rooms will be refreshed and locked during breaks. Please keep valuables on your person. When sleeping over, please make use of our in-room safes. Make sure that your items are placed in the safes. In case of fire, please nominate one person to carry out the fire extinguishers in case of emergency. Nominate one person to keep the completed attendance register. The attendance register must be taken to the emergency assembly point. In case of an emergency, the loud hailer will sound. Please stay calm, stand up, collect belongings, and move through the doors in an orderly fashion. Move out of the conference center, exit down the stairs, and move towards the nearest car park. Remain in the car park until safe. Glenbum staff members and marshals will assist with the process. Please do not attempt to fight fire or danger. The number one priority is to get out of safety safely. Thank you very much. That was the safety observation and protocols. Prof? Oh, yes. Please kindly stand up on your feet. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you very much. The gesture was to welcome our Honorable Deputy Minister, Ms. Judith Nemadzinga Chavalala, of the Department of Employment and Labor, the South African government. You're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, we expected the Vice Chancellor and the Principal of the University of South Africa, Prof. Puleng Linkabula, to be present this morning. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it to the conference. She was supposed to present the welcome address. When I was outside, the conference organizers asked me to read the welcome address, which I attempted in so many ways not to present it, because I felt I wasn't fit to even put my shoes in my feet in those shoes. But they begged me, and I finally agreed to go through the address that was to be presented by the VC and Principal of UNISA, Prof. Puleng Linkabula. I might not sound like her, I might not look like her, but I'm going to try and make sure that I deliver this welcome address in the best way I can. It's entitled Operations Management in the Fourth Industrial Revolution Era. Good morning. Distinguished faculties, students, and guests, it is a privilege to address you today on a topic that affects all of us: operations management in the Fourth Industrial Revolution Era, driven by the to integrate digital technologies in all industrial processes. What was once an option has now become a necessity for competitive viability. At its heart, Industry 4.0 involves the seamless convergence of traditional industrial processes with digital technologies to create a highly interconnected and automated ecosystem. It is characterized by core principles such as interconnectivity, digital technology, predictive analytics, and machine learning, which revolutionizes how companies operate, develop, and is managed. The transformation impacts not only production processes, but also project management, regional operations, and even human resources. We stand at a historical crossroads where technology is rapidly transforming how we live, work, and learn. This transformation is reshaping industries across the globe, including right here in South Africa. As academics, practitioners, understanding these changes is crucial. We now talk about cyber-physical systems, where sensor-equipped machines, networks, and software algorithms interact in real time. The fourth industrial revolution is categorized or characterized by technologies that blur the line between human and machine capabilities. The backbone of Industry 4.0's transformative power lies in several advanced technologies which fundamentally reshape operations management, such as artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, advanced robotics, cloud computing, 3D printing, and more. Crucially, it is not only about emergence of these technologies, but how they integrate into systems that create the complexity that we are here to discuss during this conference. Imagine as a modern smart factory where equipment is internet connected and self-monitoring. AI predicts maintenance needs, robotics adjust on the fly, and the managers oversee operations through digital dashboards. In essence, the fourth industrial revolution is transforming automated processes into intelligence, interconnected networks of production and service. Now, before diving further into technology, let us clarify operations management and how it evolved. Operations management is the disciplined designing, running, and improving the processes that produce goods or deliver services. In essence, it is about ensuring that inputs like materials, labor, and technology are transformed into outputs efficiently, effectively, and with the right quality. Put simply, it asks, how do we get things done and done well? In the era of the fourth industrial revolution, operations management is undergoing another transformation, perhaps its most profound one yet. The tools and technologies available to managers are changing rapidly, driven by an array of powerful new technologies. Let us consider a few of the key fourth industrial revolution technologies and how they are transforming operations management practices. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are shifting operations from reactive to proactive management. AI algorithms can analyze complex data sets in real time, optimizing processes with unprecedented accuracy and efficiency by detecting and identifying defects in real time. AI-driven intelligent data analytics has revolutionized how industries harness vast data sets. It uncovers real patterns, correlations, and opportunities, empowering decision makers with accurate and timely insight. In the past, managers often reacted to problems after they occurred. Now, AI can help to anticipate and prevent many issues. For example, AI-driven analytics in manufacturing can predict equipment failures before they happen by spotting subtle anomalies in sensor data, a practice known as predictive maintenance that reduces unplanned downtime. Predictive analysis rooted in statistics and machine learning aids in fostering trends and managing risks, and offers economic stability across sectors. For operations management, this means proactive rather than reactive tactics for machine breakdowns, demand fluctuations, and supply chain interruptions. AI plays a crucial role in predictive maintenance systems, which can preemptively identify equipment failures, minimize downtime, and prolong assets' lifespan, significantly improving overall operational efficiency and reducing costs. Similarly, an AI-driven vision system can perform quality inspection at speeds and accuracy impossible for human instantly detecting defects. In supply chain management, AI can focus demand more accurately, optimize delivery routes, and help adjust to changes. In real time, service operations are also being transformed. AI chatbots handles routine customer queries around the clock, freeing human staff to focus on complex tasks. In short, AI is augmenting human decision-making and making operations management more predictive, agile, and efficient. Consider the Internet of Things, network of interconnected sensors and devices embedded in machines and products. The Internet of Things technology is adding digital ears and eyes to the operations. On a factory floor, sensors on equipment continuously monitor performance and environment, sending data to management systems every second. Along supply chains, Internet of Things devices track the real-time location and condition of goods in transit so that managers can intervene when necessary. For example, a refrigerated truck's temperature deviates from safe ranges. Even agriculture becoming high-tech, soil and weather sensors enable precision in farming, allowing farmers to water and fertilize more efficiently based on actual field conditions. All this real-time data gives operations managers unprecedented visibility into their processes, which in turn enables more agile and informed decisions. Problems can be spotted, corrected as they arise. Some responses can even be automated. For instance, machinery can schedule its own maintenance. Inventory systems can reorder stock when levels becomes low. Another key element of the fourth industrial revolution is advanced robotics and automation. Robots have long been used in manufacturing for repetitive or heavy tasks. For example, robotic arms welding on car assembly lines. And I think the Deputy Minister would recall not so long our President was at BMW and the mentioning of the car manufacturing resonate with her. We now have collaborative robotics or cobots that work alongside humans, assisting with delicate assembly or heavy lifting while maintaining safety protocols. These robots are becoming more affordable and thus accessible to even mid-sized factories. Here in South Africa, some mining companies are deploying autonomous drilling machines and self-driving haul trucks which remove human workers from dangerous parts of the mining process and improve safety and productivity. In warehouses and retail operations, robotic systems can handle the picking and packing of goods for online orders, a trend accelerating with the growth of the e-commerce. By delegating repetitive and strenuous tasks to machines, operations managers can redeploy human workers to areas requiring judgment, creativity, and oversight. Alongside this technology is the fuel that powers them: big data and analytics. With countless data points now streaming from machines, processes, transactions, the ability to analyze this information is crucial. Savvy operations managers are leveraging data analytics to identify bottlenecks and inefficiency that were previously hidden. For instance, by crunching production data, one might pinpoint a slow stage in an assembly line and find patterns in energy used that suggest cost-saving adjustments. Data-driven decision-making is fast becoming the norm. A couple of other innovations are worth noting. Additive manufacturing, that's 3D printing, allow us to produce parts on demand, potentially reducing the need for large spare inventories and shortening downtime. Instead of waiting weeks for parts from abroad, a factory might print it in hours right on site. And augmented reality is finding uses in training and maintenance. For example, technicians can wear AR glasses that overlay step-by-step repair instructions onto their view of a machine, improving accuracy and knowledge transfer. Factories are turning into smart factories, supply chain into intelligent, connected networks, and services into personalized, on-demand experiences. The promise is that we can produce more, faster, and better while using fewer resources, thus affecting productivity and sustainability positively. However, we must also critically examine the challenges, especially through a South African lens, realizing that the fourth industrial revolution's potential is not as simple as flipping a switch. It requires enabling infrastructure, a skilled workforce, sufficient investment, and supportive policies. And in each of these areas, we have work to do and opportunity to seize. One major challenge is infrastructure. High-tech operations depend on reliable electricity and internet connectivity. And here in South Africa, we face difficulties. Frequent power shortages can bring even traditional factories to halt. And they pose a serious obstacle to running smart, automated facilities. Many 4IR applications also require robust broadband networks, yet despite decent mobile coverage, numerous industrial and rural areas still have unreliable internet access. Not all businesses can benefit equally from the Internet of Things or cloud tools if the basic infrastructure is not in place. Strengthening the power grid, expanding affordable high-speed internet are foundational steps for us to fully leverage the fourth industrial revolution technologies. There are efforts underway to address these gaps, but progress needs to accelerate to keep up with demand of 4IR-driven economy. A second critical challenge is education and skill development. I think the Deputy Minister is hearing that statement, that a second critical challenge is education and skill development. Advanced machines and software are useless without people who can use and manage them. South Africa needs to prepare its workforce for new kinds of jobs and new ways of working. Yet we face a paradox. Unemployment is high, especially among youth. But at the same time, many businesses struggle to find workers with technical skills needed for roles in data analysis, engineering, and programming. This stuck skills gap must be closed if 4IR is to fulfill its promise. Our education system, from primary school to university and vocational colleges, is under pressure to modernize. We need greater emphasis on STEM fields and digital literacy, as well as the kind of problem solving and adaptability that machines cannot replicate. There are some encouraging signs. Coding and robotics are slowly entering school curricula. Universities are launching courses in AI and data science, and tech innovation hubs are growing. This last week, I was in a meeting where Ms. Zainab Aziz was proposing a short learning program in AI. And it was an interesting proposition. But we also have to retrain the current workforce whose jobs are changing due to automation. This is where government programs and industry partnerships are vital through accessible upskilling opportunities via technical colleges, short courses, and online training. If we get this right, we can turn a potential threat into an opportunity. Instead of mass job losses, we can empower South African workers to fill the new high-value jobs that 4IR creates, from robot technicians to data analysts. Another crucial area is in the policy and the regulatory environment. To harness 4IR, we need a framework that encourages innovation while managing the social impact. The South African government has acknowledged this by establishing a presidential commission on the fourth industrial revolution to guide the national strategy. The commission produced an ambitious set of recommendations. Invest in human capital, that's education and training. Set up centers of excellence like an AI institute and advanced manufacturing hubs. Improve digital infrastructure. Update legislation. and coordinate implementation at the highest level. These ideas are encouraging, but the key is execution. We must ensure that they translate into real action rather than remain on paper. In my social media platforms, I'm very vocal about moving from theory to practice and producing real, tangible outcomes. That means building the capacity through specific deliberations or deliverables, for instances, creating incentives that encourage businesses, large and small, to adopt new technologies, reinvest research and development tax credits, create innovation grants, and also implementing measures to cushion any negative effects, like establishing funding for worker retraining and forming social safety nets for those displaced by automation. A broader social economic priority is ensuring that the 4IR leads to a more inclusive economy rather than widening inequality. This is crucial in South Africa, where inequality is high. We do not want a future where advanced technology is confined to a few big companies or urban areas, thus creating a two-tier society. If only large firms adopt automation and become more efficient while laying off low-skilled workers, and smaller businesses fall further behind due to lack of access to technology, the result would be greater unemployment and social tension. We must strive instead to spread the benefits of 4IR widely. That means making advanced tools accessible to small and medium enterprise through shared innovation hubs or funding support that helps smaller firms use technologies like 3D printers and data analytics without prohibitive cost. It also means applying 4IR solutions in sectors that touch many lives. In agriculture, for instance, drones and Internet of Things-based smart irrigation can help small farmers increase yields and use resources more efficiently. In finance, South Africa's burgeoning fintech sector can extend banking and insurance services to communities that were previously excluded, while also streamlining operations for providers. Even public services like healthcare and education can be enhanced with digital platforms and data-driven management. Imagine hospitals that use analytics to allocate resources better, or schools using online tools to support teaching. By focusing on inclusive innovation, we can ensure that fourth industrial revolution works for everyone, not just the privileged few. As we look to the future, the field of operations management will continue to evolve rapidly. The next generation of operations leaders will need to marry technical know-how with human-centric skills. They must be as comfortable working with AI and data analytics as they are with managing teams and making ethical decisions. Universities and training institutions will need to keep adapting their curricula so that graduates are prepared for these hybrid roles. As I draw closer to the conclusion of the address, we also expect a greater emphasis on resilience and sustainability in operations. Recent disruption, including pandemics and the effect of climate change, have shown that optimism for efficiency alone is not enough. Companies will need to leverage first industrial revolution tools to build operations that can adapt quickly to shocks. For example, AI-driven supply networks might reroute materials when a primary supplier fails. And highly flexible factories could scale production up or down in response to sudden market changes. Sustainability will likewise be a key goal in businesses businesses will use technologies like smart energy management, precision agriculture to reduce waste, save energy, and shrink the environment footprint while maintaining productivity. For South Africa and other emerging economies, fourth industrial revolution presents a chance to advance older development paths by deploying cutting-edge technologies. We have already seen how mobile phones allowed African countries to bypass the era of landlines. In a similar way, we could establish advanced smart factories or implement renewable energy systems with smart grids rather than simply expanding outdated infrastructure. Realizing these gains, however, requires vision, investment, building local capacity so that we can innovate and maintain these systems ourselves. Crucially, the fourth industrial revolution must be shaped to be inclusive. We should use technology to augment human work, not simply replace people. This means training and redeploying workers into new roles alongside machines rather than leaving anyone behind. It also means actively involving diverse groups in this technological revolution. We need more women, more youth from all communities, and more African innovators leading the way so that the benefits of technology are broadly shared. And as I read the statement that says we need more women, I felt like saying Amanda. The choices we make in implementing automation and AI will determine whether we create more opportunities or more inequality. If we focus on augmentation, education, and broad access, we can ensure this revolution drives shared prosperity. As Industry 4.0 continues to evolve, the concept of Industry 5.0 is emerging as a complementary extension designed to address emerging socio-environmental needs. While Industry 4.0 primarily focuses on technology-driven advancements and efficiency, Industry 5.0 shifts the emphasis towards sustainability, human centricity, and societal well-being. It seeks to align economic growth with environmental preservation and social well-being, redefining the role of industries beyond mere wealth generation to active contribution in solving societal challenges. The focus is on human-machine collaboration and developing a concept of sustainable social welfare that encompasses worker welfare, consumer welfare, human rights, privacy, and environmental concerns. In conclusion, the fourth industrial revolution is not just about smart machines and systems. It's about people. It is about how we adapt, learn, and choose to use these powerful tools to shape our future. If we apply sound operations management principles in this new era, we can unlock immense productivity and innovation while also improving quality of life. We can make our enterprises more competitive and our economy more inclusive. Industry 4.0 represents a pivotal moment for operations management, ushering in an era of unprecedented efficiency and productivity and innovation driven by the strategic integration of advanced digital technologies. AI, the Internet of Things, big data analytics, digital twins, robotics, cloud computing, and additive manufacturing are not just tools. They are transformative forces, reshaping industrial landscapes and managerial practices. While the benefits are clear, it is imperative to address the associated challenges, including data privacy, ethical consideration, environmental impacts, and the critical need for upskilling the workforce. The ongoing evolution towards Industry 5.0 further underscores the need for a critical, discerning perspective that embraces technology's potential while actively mitigating risks, ensuring a technological advanced, economical, resilient, and socially inclusive future. Collaborative innovation among government, academia, and industry players is crucial for successfully navigating this complex landscape and fully harness the potential of this industrial revolution. To those of you here in this academic community, students, lecturers, researchers, deputy ministers, security officials, will be the architects of this future. Through your careers and your scholarship, you will guide how technology and operations intersect in the years to come. On behalf of the VC and the principal, I urge you to continue learning, stay curious, remember the human impact of every innovation. South Africa has overcome great challenges in the past, and with your talent and commitment, on behalf of the VC and the principal of UNISA, Prof. Puleng Lingabula, I believe we can navigate this one as well. By embracing fourth industrial revolution technologies thoughtfully and inclusively, we can build an economy that is not only stronger, but also fairer and more resilient. The fourth industrial revolution offers us a chance to reimagine what operations management can achieve, not just higher efficiency or profits, but broader social well-being. Let us seize that opportunity with knowledge, creativity, and a commitment to inclusivity. On behalf of the Vice-Chancellor and the Principal of UNISA, Prof. Puleng Lingabula, I thank you. I hope I did justice to the speech on behalf of the Vice-Chancellor and the Principal of UNISA. As we progress with our program, I would like to introduce our next speaker. And when we had a brief chat, he promised me that he's well rooted in aspect of the fourth industrial revolution and the fifth industrial revolution. So I can assure you, please pay special attention as we welcome Dr. Samuel Loiso Tibani, who is the head of School of Mechanical and Industrial Engineering at the University of Johannesburg. He said I mustn't read a long story of his bio. He will do that part very well. Doc, the stage is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and the Honorable Deputy Minister. Some of us, we found ourselves in the different fields that we're in, and you can see that some are really comedians. So the colleague, I'm trying to find where my speech is. So the colleague wanted to say a lot of things about me, and then I kept on telling him that I'm representing the dean here, so I must not say a lot of things, because this position is not my position. Give me a minute to locate my speech, ladies and gentlemen. I've lost connectivity here, but I've got a small thing that works with me like witchcraft, you know. And the Xhosa people like me have got that broom that we beat, you know, the broom, and we visit our people in the Eastern Cape. I want to make an apology on behalf of Professor Mashawa, who's our executive dean, while I'm locating the email where I put. The reason I didn't really prepare, I thought the minister will speak first, so I was just relaxing there. So that is why I am really struggling with this toy. There you are. There you are. What do they say at church? The devil is a liar. That one I heard it from church. There you are. Oh, I almost choked. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Samuel Lois Oktebani. I am the head of school for mechanical, industrial, quality and operations, and I'm also the director of a very important project in the Faculty of Engineering in the Built Environment, where the faculty is converting an ordinary internal combustion engine to an electric vehicle, and I'm directing that project under the leadership of the Executive Dean. I am presenting here the Executive Dean of our faculty, Professor Mashawa, who is out of the country on a business trip. Prof. Mashinini was supposed to come and speak to the delegation, to the delegates, but unfortunately has got another engagement. We take pride that one of our departments of quality and operations under the leadership of Dr. Madonsela is partnership in this event. Our faculty is a home to about 10,000 students, and it contributes to 20% of UJ graduates. This is the largest conduct faculty of engineering and built environment in the country. And on average, we've got about 2,500 graduates yearly. Our faculty is one of the 8 faculties and a college at UJ whose vision is to be a top international university of choice, anchored in Africa and the global south, dynamically shaping the sustainable future. And this is the organization that we are employed by. We celebrate the University of Johannesburg's 20th anniversary this year, noting that since inception, UJ has been consistently climbing all rankings, reflecting the continuous improvement that is inculcated in the institution's DNA. In other words, growth is in UJ's DNA. UJ has ranked consistently in the top 5 universities in South Africa, and our faculty is ranked top 3 of the universities in the country. The mission of the faculty is to produce highly qualified engineers, technologists, quantity surveyors, and operational managers, and we have 12 departments and 5 schools to assist in the economic growth of our country. And we pride ourselves in having hands-on type of activities within our curriculum. The UJ strategic theme of technology for the future finds expression in the faculty. Annually, our curriculum is updated to take into cognizance changes that are taking place in the society. In other words, our curriculum is a moving target, is not stagnant, and is responsive. Responsive to the needs of the country, responsive in technological needs across the globe. Over 600 students' projects done last year were in an area of artificial intelligence and social impact. All our programs in the faculty are accredited by external professional bodies such as the Engineering Council of South Africa and others. This means a UJ qualifications ensures that we meet local and international quality standards. A UJ qualified engineer or technologist is recognized globally as a proper engineer, and we pride ourselves on that. This one is a very interesting one and is very close to the dean, and you must listen to it very carefully because I didn't know it. Maybe you didn't know it yourself. The faculty has demonstrated the relevance of its education, and several projects were undertaken by the faculty for societal impact. We are aware of the 40-40-40 concept. 40-40-40 concept of South Africa, where most of our people live in 40 square meter houses. That's the first 40. Live in places that are 40 kilometers from the workplace. That's the second 40. And spends 40% of their income on transportation costs. This is an amazing revelation. that the Dean brought to our attention. We continue research on the 3D printing of RDB houses. Now we are working on converting internal combustion engine vehicles to electric powered vehicles, and these vehicles, we hope to use them for the taxi industries that are operating vehicles that are called Amapela. Some of us will know them, some of us won't know them, but they are feeder vehicles inside our townships. And the point the faculty is trying to find out, how cost effective is it to convert? Because it could be that not everybody will manage to buy an EV. We are anchored in this continent and country, and we're using that as a context of our operation. Within our faculty, we've got a visual mind in our Doornfontein campus. This enables us to teach students without putting in actual minds. In other words, they can go into our visual mind and have a sense and a feeling of how it is to work underground. We plan to use the venue to reduce simulation, to rescue simulations, so that we can eliminate real dangers to our miners. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot close this speech without speaking about research and innovation within the faculty. Because as a faculty, we excel in research and innovation. And our faculty over the years constantly exceeded research output targets. The past reporting year was no different, with Phoebe reaching 835 units, which was translated to 107% of its target. This achievement is testament to Phoebe's pool of seasoned academics, supported significantly by postgraduate fellows, postgraduate students, and visiting academics. Of course, within the faculty within our faculty, it is a home for exceptional researchers. To name the few, we've got a colleague, Prof. Gupta, Prof. Sharma, Prof. Tatibu, who are listed amongst the highest researchers across the globe. The faculty has got 72 NRF-rated affiliations. And supporting that, we pride ourselves to say that as a faculty, we have got research centers. We have got an atomic layer deposition research center. We've got a center of applied research and innovation. We've got a center of cyber physical, food, energy, and water systems, a center of ecological intelligence, a center of nanoengineering and advancement materials, a center of smart information and communication systems, center of sustainable material and construction technologies, construction industry development board center of excellence, nuclear research center, to name just a few. And within the few weeks from today, the faculty will be putting through Senate a center for automotive industry. Ladies and gentlemen, with this background about our faculty, we want to welcome everybody to this event, and we want to invite more collaboration across the institutions, across the faculties. Thank you.
Now let's move the music. You have to push it a little bit in.
Thank you very much, Doc, for the opening remarks on behalf of Prof. Mashinini, the Vice Dean, Teaching and Learning, Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment at the University of Johannesburg. I think you represented the Prof very well. Let's give him a round of applause. I wasn't aware, but now I am, that there are so many centers at the University of Johannesburg. And there's one that got me worried for a second, but I then realized that the university is moving with time. Colleagues would recall that not so long there was lots of exchanges between Israel and Iran, and then the US joined in, and the famous word there was nuclear, 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 nuclear. And so I heard that there's a nuclear research center at University of Johannesburg. UNISA is engraved in my in my speech. But I think it's good to hear that there is a center that is focused on nuclear. Somewhere I wrote a comment that it seems like the moment people enter into the space of nuclear, all they think is wars. But if we enter into research to identify the best uses for nuclear, we can ensure that our continent, our country, is better off and empowered in so many ways. For example, in energy and other areas. So thank you very much for that welcome address, well executed. It is now time to listen to someone who is very special to our country, South Africa. And the greatest thing of all, which I said Amandla too, is that she's a woman. And it is very important that our country, South Africa, is recognizing that women are equal to the task. That women can as much as men can. And that is very important. And before she came to the podium, she said, I want beautiful pictures. And these pictures must have UNISA with them. So that when I report back of where I'm coming from or where I was, they can be able to see that I was indeed somewhere, not in the department where I'm the deputy. It's very important. It's part of portfolio of evidence. Part of portfolio of evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel very humble to introduce the next speaker. It's a very difficult one for me. I haven't, ever since I was born, many decades ago, I haven't introduced a deputy minister. So it's a very huge task for me. But because I have been entrusted by the two universities that are hosting this conference, I will try my level best. And after I have read the bio, and as she will be ascending to the podium, I will humbly request that the House must stand up as a form of respect and honor to our keynote speaker. The Honorable Deputy Minister of the Department of Employment and Labor in South African Government, Ms. Judith Nemadzinga Chabalala, boasts an extensive and distinguished career in politics, Amandla, with a wealth of experience gained from her numerous roles since 2002. Her unwavering commitment to the cause of empowering youth and women is a testament to her dedication and passion for assisting meaningful change in society. Ms. Nemadzinga Chabalala has dedicated her life and career to public service, having served in numerous roles as a proportional representation councillor in the city of Johannesburg, a member of parliament in the National Assembly, including whip of the Portfolio Committee of Public Enterprises. Honorable Deputy Minister, when people hear portfolio committees, they run away. A member of the Standing Committee on Finance, the Portfolio Committee on Arts and Culture, Ad hoc Committee on the Appointment of the Auditor General, and as an alternate member of the Ad hoc Committee for Section 194, Inquiry into Public Protectors' Fitness to Hold Public Office. These are prominent, frequent terms you read about on newspapers. But today, we have got someone who has got these things behind her name. She serves as a member of the African National Congress, the ANC, Provincial Task Team in Gauteng, and the Treasurer General of the South African National Civic Organization, SANCO, and a member of the ANC Women's League, Mbokoto. Deputy Minister Judith Nemadzinga Chabalala holds an advanced diploma in public administration from the University of Western Cape. Honorable Deputy Minister, my school is open to admit you in public administration. And numerous leadership and project management and municipal governance programs from the Wits Business School, University of Johannesburg, Vista University, and the National School of Governance, including a certificate in public policy with the London School of Economics and Political Sciences. During the 6th administration, she was appointed as the Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation from the 6th of March 2023 to the 29th of May 2024. In the current 7th administration, she was appointed as the Deputy Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, and now servicing as the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labor. Ladies and gentlemen, please take a stand as we welcome the Honorable Deputy Minister, Ms. Judith Nemadzinga Chabalala, to the podium.
Nduribonga Amanda, Professor. Ndi macheroni. Ikadebanga macheroni ti. All right. Good morning. That's my language. It means good morning. That's the presidents of this republic language. It's called the macheroni. So it's important that all of you need to know that language. Professor, who's the program facilitator, Chiridzi Nenjerere. Nduriwanga Amanda, and of course I do want to be your student. In fact, in one of the programs I do have with UJ, I was at APK, I was your student for quite some time. And then I was with UNISA, and I was speaking to Prof. I said, I need to proceed. I started with my LLB. And as I'm in the middle of things, then this politics and the work and all of them comes in. It became a lot a bit, and it needed lots of attention. So I kind of pressed pause a bit. So I told him now, I said, no, I think I'm coming back while I'm also trying to do my honors and get into masters and all of them. So basically, there's institutions of yourselves, and as people like yourself, being academia, that you inspire us as well, that we need to do better. We need to get to the space. And somebody was saying to us is that, you want to do MBA legislature, however, you don't know law. Or you want to be the one that is responsible for an industry of attorneys and so forth, but you don't know the discipline. Or you want to be an MEC of health and you don't know the discipline when it comes to the institution. And you must be responsible to hold those accountable. But if you don't know how to use a syringe, and you don't know how to diagnose a person, you don't understand issues of pharmaceuticals, then you have a challenge. And of course, as politicians, I think that's partly part of the challenge that we have in the scheme of things of being active and all of that. Now, let me greet you, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, I think I've acknowledged facilitator, Professor Chiridzi, and your words that you've mentioned insofar you were standing in for Professor Puleng. And of course, I want to acknowledge Ms. Anthea, because she's the reason I'm here. Hence, when I saw the banner of employment and labor, I said, no, where am I? Is it my department? And already in the social media, they're starting to ask. Actually, Executive Mayor wrote me a message sitting there, scolding me and say, how come we're not there and you are coming to our city? His name is Kema Matafeng, Executive Mayor, if you know him of this area. I said, no, my friend, I'm also an invitee. It's not mine, it's Eunice. I said, okay, then he withdrew. And I think it's because they saw that banner of mine, of employment and labor. But I also said to professors that before he could even send me a message, said, no. We are also your guests here, and we are collaborating. So let it have the look and the shape and the feel of it. And unfortunately, there isn't UNISA and also the banner of PSA, so that it reflects that we are, collaborating and mixing with academia. It's a very important profile, in the life of a politician. Thank you so much, Ms. Anthea, for insisting that we be here, but also I think academians here. Let me acknowledge Professor Bans, who welcomed me as well, and that conversation shall continue. He represents what we call experts in the committee in the program of Workplace Challenge program that is funded through DTIC, but is through our entity, Bring Productivity of South Africa. So he is there, and of course Dr. Samo for representing, I think, Prof as well. I think I've noted some of the issues that you raised, and they said, yes, you are a professor in these matters. I said, yeah, you never cease to learn. And I think there's a number of issues that you've raised around these issues of schools that you're busy with, the curriculum that you're expanding and ensuring that you also go with the times. These challenges of living within, or rather the distances that you would have, issues of electric vehicles, and I ask myself, does it include Tesla cars? I'm just saying that you are busy already collaborating with. But for me, what was coming out, we're talking about putting theory with practice, because you also mentioned that you would want to have your students also visiting underground mining activities so that they can also have the feel of it. As much as you do engineers, it's important for them to see, and I think that's very important. That's why the issues of vocational trainings as well in the country, which is going to make me also just ponder a little bit before I start with my speech on what Professor Chiridzi said as well when it comes to issues of how we want to do this transformation and how do we get involved in the AI. So as much as we do that, you want to also practicalize it. But the issue is that the skills that we are training, because you mentioned issues of training, that there's a lack of education when you're speaking to me, and training that is quite... But I then said, there's so much training that is happening within government now. That's why these CETAs, there's so much training. Almost each and every department has got a training. Even in our department, there's lots of training that we're doing and upskilling. But the issue here that we have, it's a matter of saying, what does our economy, where is our economy? Have you identified the levers of our economy and what is it that the economy really requires? So the training that you speak into, then it needs then to speak to the economy that you want to have. I mean, the utilization of TVET colleges for what it ought to be. By now, I'm sure in this 4IR, that has started a long time now. And in fact, we're getting left behind in the 5R, and we are speaking 4.0 and so forth. But I think that we need to speak to an economy. Perhaps that's where we need to start. What are the new things in the globalization that we have and developmental? And, you will see China has moved and all of that. But as much as we touch on these topics in your curriculum, which is very, very important, because we're busy doing training, but you're the one that can assist us so that the people that comes within your value chain, they actually respond immediately, beside them having to have experience and acquire all of this, which makes it difficult for them to access the labor market and for them to be self-sufficient. So I think the biggest lacuna for me, if you were to ask, is that we need to position the training such that it speaks to exactly what is it that we're going to need in the short term, but also in the long-term future. The training and taking young people underground, and of course I'm sure government will be instrumental, can assist in doing that. I was in minerals and petroleum resources for a short time, but I can tell you I visited many mines. I went underground, and I was being scared by my other colleagues were saying to me, ubesho ukuthi xa uyapha uthi uzimisele ngoba ungayenzeka ukuthi wenzakaleke and ungafa nokufa ndathi ndiyaya. So you can imagine that language nokuthi buya kuphi ne. So I went underground, experienced it, open pits, different types of mining deposits and all of that. So we did open up, and there's a time where we partnered with a school in Tshwane, and we gave them access, having spoken to the type of the mines that were around. He said, no, give them access during the time when there is schools closure, when they do camps, such that they can also learn in this work. So that for you, Jay, I don't think it should be a problem. Chiridzi, you know, professor, because I must say professor, you know, being vendor like I am, with vendors, when I see him, he's already my brother. There's nothing tribal about it, by the way. Or sister, and what have you. So that's what I'm saying, Chiridzi, because my sister's name is Chiridzi. But nonetheless, there's just 2 points I want to ponder on so that I don't have... I'm eating on my time. I'm mindful that you gave me until 11. It's 11:10. The matter around refrigerated trucks that you mentioned, I was quite keen on it. I mean, we do have cars nowadays that do have some sort of, but they are sophisticated and very expensive, that would have fridges inside. One would wonder, how does that work? So I was also trying to have energy efficiency at my household, and I said, oh God, how much does a solar panel cost to put in your household? It was quite expensive. And I said, okay, what are the other energy saving now that there is this problems that we are having? I said, no, the refrigerator is actually eating too much of my power. And I said, is there a gas refrigerator? Somebody laughed at me. I said, no, that is not available. So I'm trying to put that challenge that you might want to also have those appliances like a refrigerator, because that is always on 24 hours. You can switch it off. So perhaps you might also want to try other energy solutions as we're busy with this energy transition and so forth. Let me get to my speech. For me, really, it is an honor and privilege to address yourself, and thank you for having me. And I think that we are addressing yourselves at a time where obviously our globally community stands at a crossroads where opportunities for the 4IR and the promise of the 5th IR are redefining and the terrain of operation management, public service efficiency, economic development, and inclusive social transformation. But also we're observing, Professor Chiriti, the Women's Month. So when you say Amanda Mbogoto, it's Women's Month. So all these women here, it's their month. You must treat them very special. A very important month in our history as well. Now, the matters for me on the 5IR and 4IR, we need a redefining the terrain, particularly on operation management and on economic development and inclusive social transformation. We gather not merely, I don't think, to speak about technologies, systems, but to reflect on the moral and developmental choices. We must also make and shape the future of these sustainable operations, because the unit mainly is around operations. And I was saying to professors, asked him, and I said, what's your relationship as well on this topic, and in particular with Department of Science and Technology and Department of Communication? Because those are departments, and you know, Professor Blade in Zimande is heading over that. And I said, and he said, no. I said, okay, that's something that immediately they need to come closer. I mean, I even said to CEO Amelius that where is our communication in the department? And he said, no, they are here. I said, no. I'm of the view this is a very important conference for these 3 days, that the bureaucracy ought to be sitting here and they can learn from these discussions that are ensuing, because they are the ones who are supposed to also be implementing and also advising us. But it's important for them to understand where is this revolutions that we're speaking about are headed. So I feel that there needs to be that collaboration as well. I'll also get hold of my counterparts so that we are able to have those discussions. Obviously, you have in the G20, there's a lot of things when coming out to technology and communication. Now, as a government, representative necessarily by the Deputy Minister, and I want to locate this in the global and national political context, underscoring the importance of people-centered digital economy and ethical governance architecture and inclusive future for work for all South Africans, because we also about work, because that's why we're on the unemployment and labor, and we're hosting the last G20 working group and B20, and I was speaking on it, and the topic was this issue around AI, actually. So perhaps in the 5IR, you need to also include the AI, so you can speak about its impact and also its challenges that it imposes. Then we are able to say, this is what we can do to mitigate. Because somebody was even saying that we plan these things, then we end up talking about unintended consequences. So, Prof, if it's unintended, why are we busy? So it must not be intended what we introduce, because we don't live on our own, we live within a globe. However, that term must not find space necessarily such that we are able to talk to solutions. Now, we live in a world defined by this complexity, volatility, and this rapid transformation that is happening globally. Technological advances have created immense productive potential, but have also exposed societies to vulnerabilities. The global energy transition, the climate change, the rising inequality, and Professor was saying, what are we doing? Are we going to speak to inequality itself, or are we going to exacerbate it? And the restructuring of global trade dynamics, amplified by digital disruptions, pose both opportunities and threats. Domestically, we are responding to these challenges through the bold policy choices, the coordinated planning mechanism in the MTDP 24-29 year sets out South Africa's vision for just transition, inclusive economic growth, and a capable developmental state. It is this context that we must view the digital transformation, or rather industrial revolution, not as an abstract but technological leap, but also as a tool for social justice. And I will keep on bringing these words around the issues of social justice, and I think I'll elaborate even later on in my closing. But for me, really, on productivity, part of it, environmental sustainability, and of course the ethical governance that we need. And I want to just borrow a quote from Prime Minister Keir Starmer recently, and an open quote that he would have said, and mentioned to yourself that one is from that AI B20, that AI should be a force for good, but it must be shaped by our values and work for the many, but not for the few. And I close quote. This sentiment is echoed in 2025 G20 declaration, which calls for a human-centered approach to digitization, to enhance social protection, bridge digital divides, and uplift the quality of life of all our people. Now, Industry 4.0 represents fundamental shifts in the modern industrial environments, integrating digital technologies into all industrial processes. It is also moved from being a choice to a necessity. For competitive viability, key technologies like your 4IR, including AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning that we have, the Internet of Things, the industrial Internet of Things, the big data analytic, the cyber physical systems, digital twins, additive manufacturing, cloud computing, and blockchain technology. Now, those are the value chain, and they're quite huge. And all these technologies, they aim to revolutionize how companies, one, operate, enhance productivity, increase flexibility, shortening time to market, and improving quality control, and generating substantial cost savings through predictive maintenance and optimized energy consumption. At the back of our minds, where do we locate humans? As a human capital or a labor capital? As much as we want to optimize on time, capitalize on it, everything must be done timelessly. Of course, the world is moving very fast, but we should also acknowledge the issue of the human labor. Where do we put all of that? Now, we do all remember that 2023, during the State of Nation Address, President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, that reminds us on the inaugural Black Industries Conference that showcased the success of Black South Africans in producing food, car parts, furniture, clothing, steel, chemicals, and mining products, thus creating much-needed employment opportunities. And you're correct, President was at the BMW and speaking about that. He also shares with us us his experience that he traveled to this country, let me not mention the name, and he goes there, and the experience is such that people are able to order their food through robotics, and the robots delivers very quick. As you hang up the food already, within a time that is acceptable, the food comes, and that robotics ensures they come in without disturbing your peace and encroaching your space, and they deliver the food. Afterwards, they are determining, they come, they take away all that food, but as they go to the lifts, it is not even pressing. That lift knows where the robot is going. How? I don't know. It goes in there, whatever the flow that robot is going. Then there's another experience, I'm sure you would have seen in socials, where you would have seen hospitals operating with robotics, literally giving you a prescription, knowing the client's face, recognizing the client before you even walk in. Where the shelves are kept, it's all robotics that happens. However, in all of that, we should not forget where is the human labor in all of that. Now, the impact of IR extends for economic and managerial aspects across various sectors, fostering innovation and operational efficiency. For government, they represent a game changer, an opportunity to streamline bureaucracy, personalize public service delivery, and make real-time decisions informed by big data. But this transformation will not without its own challenges, issues of data, privacy, cybersecurity, transparency, also the AI-driven decision-making and the displacement of workers demand that we act in foresight and responsibility. While 4IR has driven significant progress, the European Commission has officially launched the 5.0, 15.0 as a policy, recognizing that 4IR may not be optimal framework for achieving Sustainable Development Goal, the SDGs. And now, what is the South African view? It says 5IR expands the scope of digital transformation to include people, planet, prosperity, reinforcing the role of enterprises in contributing to a better and fair world. 5IR strongly emphasizes the human element, focusing on the interaction between humans and artificial intelligence. It promotes human-robot collaboration, addressing economic and social sustainability in factories through technologies like human integration recognition, smart wearables, and extended reality. They call it XR. Now, the 5IR is deeply intertwined with sustainability, advocating for cleaner production, circular economy, and practices and efficient energy management, which includes achieving continuous reduction of energy consumption and circulatory goals. Building the 4IR and 5IR continues to enhance the ability of systems to resist, adapt, and transform in the face of disruption. Government plays a pivotal role in steering this industrial revolution to ensure it serves both national and societal interests. This involves driving forward-thinking policy and regulation, establishing standards and ensuring interoperability across systems, and safeguarding ethical uses of artificial intelligence, data privacy, and cybersecurity. At the time, a government at the same time needs to balance the rapid technology advancement with the protection of human rights. And that's our responsibility. It is also responsible for fostering sustainable development goal and cleaner production methods, advancing the sustainable goal, development goals, and promoting the circular of economic principles by nurturing economic growth and innovation. Addressing barriers to investment and driving inclusive digital transformation, government helps build a more equitable industrial future. Furthermore, it also plays a key role in supporting environmental monitoring, enhancing supply chain resilience, as you know, the challenges of government when it comes to that field, bridging the skills gap and developing future-ready workforce. Achieving these outcomes requires a strong collaboration with academia and a range of other stakeholders. There is also a pressing need for research in interoperability frameworks to address these absent standards in integrating AI systems. Governments can facilitate the development of such frameworks, but urgent matters include data privacy and security and ethical deliberations. And you will also see in what I'm keeping on referring to, the issues of ethical keeps on creeping in my speech. But governments must also navigate these complex environments to ensure economic revolutions are advantageous and morally fair. This involves that establishing clear accountability and governance structures for that ethical AI and data analytic practices, defining roles and responsibility when it comes to issues of implementing the oversight mechanisms and ensuring compliance with ethical guidelines and regulations. Concerns about data quality and transparent AI decisions and making processes that needed to be addressed. Now, implementing the cleaner production strategies is recognized worldwide as a tool for sustainable development, leading to economic savings and a better environment. Industry 4.0 technologies facilitate the transition to a circular economy by improving operational efficiency and fostering that innovation. And then government can incentivize and regulate practices for reducing material usage. Our president keeps on telling us about why is it important that also as government that we partner with social partners, a bit academia, but obviously private sector. And you would also acknowledge that we are sitting here, or rather standing, and I'm called to be a deputy minister for employment and labor. I was at another session and we were debating, like Prof said, you don't want to be called in portfolio committees. And in that debate, the first thing said, no, she's the deputy minister of unemployment, not employment. And I had to take it, I had to take it. Part of the challenge that our country has, the first biggest, crisis now we're having beside crime, it is unemployment. So you are called to be unemployed, employment and labor. But I'm trying to say that it's quite important that we need to incentivize even the private sector and how we regulate and in the bureaucratic systems that we don't over-legislate such that the private sector and the environment that we create for even businesses to thrive and continue, we make it very impossible for them. But incentivizing and finding other methods for investments to come into our country so that our economy can be boosted. That is something very critical. Because as long as our economy is not growing, we're going to have challenges, which also, will speak to the point around the minerals and resources, your deposits. And the fact that how it's mining industry is done in this country, where you can literally mine and take raw deposit and just, they leave this country without the entire value chain, beneficiation and all of that, working out and creating jobs, if those that can be done in the country. I mean, in the 5 critical minerals, including the strategy, we have those. We've got those lithium, magnesium, we've got your chromomine, you have coal, you have those. And the question then becomes, why is it stubbornly we're unable to utilize this resource such that it's able to respond to the challenges that we find ourselves in. So I hope that exercise will also ponder into the real time and speak to these minerals of the future, where the entire world is looking here. I mean, China, it's called to be, number one when it comes to chrome and what have you, but they don't have it. They're taking it here. But they're number one, you are zero. Okay, let me not play with the math of the zero. Let's leave that so you can edit that part. All right. Now, government need to incentivize, that was my point, the issue of manufacturing, remanufacturing, reuse, and recycling across productivity, a life cycle, smart sensors, and AI are particularly, impactful in the environmental stewardship, including waste management, waste classification, and efficient energy management. I'm not used to be given 30 minutes, so I'm trying to live up to that time. Just that I think I'm enjoying this platform because I feel like a professor, I feel like it's rubbing on me. I can feel you, you are rubbing on me. I met doctors when I came, doctor this, and I said, oh my goodness, Judith, you are behind, but I can feel this. And believe me, I'm very much motivated. From here on, I'm writing. Now, the transition to 4IR and 5IR demands fundamental changes in leadership and organizational cultures. And that is something that I keep on pressing on ever since the time I joined this department. Amelia, she's the CEO. I'm going to leave you with her after the break. And I know that she's going to be speaking. And part of the issues I've been very clear about, and I said to them, your duty is to turn around companies and ensure there's efficiency, there's governance, leadership, and so forth and so on. But I said to them, you need to start to change the culture of work and in the departments, but start with your own. I said, start with your own. Actually, the entire, you see, there's the poster. It shows you all these entities under this department. It's quite huge, and sometimes we undermine it. So that's why President has got 2 deputy ministers. There's a whole lot of work behind all these banners. But I said to them, start changing the work culture and the organizational culture. Then perhaps we'll get it right in things that we're speaking about. So organizational culture, for me, that requires the skills workforce, the skilled workforce that we need to really implement and integrate these new technologies that we really need. And be honest, we need to be honest in the conversation of this developmental state, or rather these technologies, that it is possible that a lot of people are going to have fear and the change will not be accepted immediately, be it from the old guard or to a new guard, actually. It has nothing to do about age, what have you, but it has to do with the attitude that it requires for you to be able to welcome. But it's also about us, how we introduce this change to our people, including from a lecture hall, from a lecturer themselves, that the issue of the culture and organizationally, but how you introduce the subjects of change, because they have to change how they also teach, and their students, they're able to take what they're saying. And I can tell you, in that AI conference, we got to learn that AI, it is so fast such that they can even write a thesis for you. You just tell AI to write it, literally produces it. You tell it, write this, and it gives you as is. It can draw a human being and finish them all, So I'm trying to say it's going to impact in the world of academia more than anything else, and institutions. So the sooner the institutions, they get in there so that you can preserve the traditional and human learning. For me, it's very critical, because you will check it in terms of even life, that we've substituted the human relations with AI. Everything has to do about technology. The kids are no longer even playing. There's a game that they play with each other. They talk from wherever they are and all of that. And all. So I'm trying to say there's an element of that challenge that we need to speak to, because human interaction, it's very critical. Despite these vast opportunities and challenges that persist, that require that active collective action, the data management for me and also the integration are problematic, as organizations often struggle with managing vast database data sets and fully leveraging their potential for insights and predictive analysis. And I'm going to jump everything else. I think I'll share my notes with Amelia and the organizer. And for me, issues of automation that you spoke to, they're quite important, that we need to, of course, observe. But the 5.0 as an industry, it is also a great opportunity for supported employment enterprises as well to be more productive. We do have what we call supported employment enterprises, and as part of our entity in the department, and what it does, it secures employability of persons with disabilities. We've got factories in the country, around 13 factories, and you know, it deals with textile, wood and steel. They're able to manufacture all this furniture where you are seated, whether it's a desk and what have you. They're able to do that because it's through the training that they undergo, but just to show that including 4IR must not leave also the vulnerable groups behind, be it youth, women and persons with disability. It's also important. And I think I want to really come to the closure of things. In part on this innovation, I think for me on the technology, it does not operate in vacuum. The macroeconomic implications are there of digitalization. I call it digitization, but as I say digitalization are vast, and consider, and I think that we need to consider how then we can be able to deal with the effects of it. And part of the effects, you would have the issues of employment on the matter of job creation, but the matter of decent work, digital transformation, and for the fact that it need not to entrench informality. The inflation and growth, AI-driven efficiency, and can lower, you know, the production costs and risk reinforcing monopolies, and unless antitrust laws can then evolve. The matter on exchange rates and investments, attracting high tech, investment required, you know, regulatory certainty, fiscal discipline, and infrastructure readiness. The matter on productivity, which is very, very crucial, is that it is the central metric through productivities that we have, and cross-departmental partnerships. We're also institutionalizing from our side productivity to improvements in both government and the private sector. Let me just get to my conclusion, but just to say that, look, the common thread here for me, it is still human-centered transition, involving workers in the design, in the deployment, fostering inclusion, and ensuring digital dignity at work. So where do we go from here? Artificial intelligence will not and should not wait for us. We need to play catch up. It has moved, and it's not something that you're going to wish away, unfortunately. The pace is accelerating, but the impact will have, whether it depends dividends or expands opportunity, opportunity should remain within, of course, the control, and government, academia, policymakers, business and social partners must act with intention and foresight. And I think that all of us, we can really help the AI transition so that it's not just technologically advanced, but socially just. And I repeat that word, it needs to be socially just. There's another world of finding ourselves and we're getting ourselves in. Lest we go there with just, blindsided or unintended consequences. We don't want that. So we need not to leave no one behind in that fourth industrial revolution. Let us ensure that not only ideals that are achievable, aspirations enabled by technology, driven by values, and sustained by a collective will. Ndoriwa Gyalebo and Gyabonga. Bayadanki. Thank you.
People are getting into trouble. Something to say thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, there's your picture.
Also take a picture.
Yeah, of course. Why not? You're presenting with this. Professor, come closer. Don't worry. You will stay with your wife. Thank you so much. They gave me a book, so don't worry. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Those are beautiful pictures.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. I think speaking after she has spoken, in the month that is dedicated for women, it becomes very difficult. But we, on behalf of the conference organizers, we want to really thank you so much for honoring our invitation and coming and presenting your address, the keynote as address. I think I was listening very attentively, and I found a lot of keys in the address. When she was on her way to sit, she said, "Did I present like a professor?" Yeah, I think you presented like a deputy minister. And that deserves a big round of applause. I think you, in your sense of humor, you mentioned the deputy minister of the Department of Unemployment. Yeah, and I think that is because ever since I got to do research, the unemployment rate has always been high, and it's seemingly not reducing. And we really need to do something very drastic to make sure that that statistic change drastically. Because that speaks to many other social ills that we are having in our country, such as crime and others. When people are not employed and they're about to sleep hungry, they try and find something to justify their action. And so unemployment then becomes that. And you spoke a mouthful about AI, smart wearables, robotics, AI in higher education. And I think as universities, we are embracing that AI in higher education. For us at UNISA, with open distance e-learning, we had no choice but to embrace, the new reality of online learning. And we are fully online. We are doing away with blended learning and going fully online. And that's an embracing of AI. And thank you very much for that. And for emphasizing that these things needs to be socially just. That they can't come here and tell us what to do. We must still tell them what to do. Sometimes when you look at it, it seems like we have been AI'd already. We seems to be operating like AI itself, although we are supposed to be telling it what to do. This brings us to the end of the first session for our conference, and the conference organizers have indicated to me that in order for us to keep up with time, we are going to break for 15 minutes. You can rush to the restroom, you can go get your tea or your coffee, your juice or whatever you would prefer, but be back here within 15 minutes. We are around about, by 11:25, we should be back here in the hall for the second session, where we are going to have other keynote speakers speaking to us. My job is done. Okay, yeah, you can't say give me a round of applause. The judges have spoken. So I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to leave you with someone very capable to take you through the second session. And this is Dr. Cheryl Reilander, who is from the 1st of this month, the acting chair of the Department of Operations Management at UNISA. So this person is capable of driving the second session. I can promise you that. So let's break for 15 minutes, 25 past, we are back, and we continue with the second session. Enjoy your break.
My apologies, Ms. Naidu. Ms. Naidu is a professional with 22 years' experience in productivity, operations, and business process improvement. She holds an MBA, a cum laude, and a Bachelor's of Technology in Industrial Engineering, a diploma in project management, and is a certified black belt 6 Sigma. The title of her thesis is an assessment of business process gaps that affect performance of state entities. In her career spans roles such as industrial engineering, business advisor for SMEs, change facilitator, senior productivity practitioner, project management and operational excellence. Amelia Naidu has demonstrated leadership in various capacities, including serving as chair of the ILL Project Advisory Committee, management representative of the National Quality Productivity Network, and industrial engineering advisory board member at the Durban University of Technology. She also acted as sponsor and chair to the Productivity SA Way of Doing Business committees and serves as a committee member of the Workplace Challenge Expert Committee and the NETLAC SME membership, workstream membership. Ms. Naidu, welcome. we look forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and privilege to be around academics. It's actually not, I don't want to say intimidating, but really, as the Deputy Minister has rightly said, it's actually motivating. So I do appreciate this opportunity. So I think it's good morning still to everyone. Our program facilitator, of course, our Deputy Minister, we just had to see her off. So in absentia, the Vice Chancellor in absentia, and of course, Dr. Samuel from UJ, as well as, of course, everybody else that's sitting in this room, Professor Barnes, the chair, which is Anthea, all respected academics, industry leaders, fellow operational professionals, as well as all dignitaries that are sitting around the table today. So it is a privilege for me to join you at this conference itself with the theme of Industry 4.0 and beyond, the quest for operations excellence. I speak to you today not just as the seconded Chief Executive Officer of Productivity SA, but also as a qualified industrial engineer, as well as a PhD candidate within operations management here at UNISA. So someone who is deeply committed to advancing both the theory and the practice of operational transformation. So I stand at the intersection of policy, enterprise development, and industrial systems. And I want to share reflections from all three lenses on how we can enable real operational excellence in an increasing era, in an era increasing defined by complexity, uncertainty, and intelligent automation. Let us begin by recognizing the paradigm shift we are living through. Industry 4.0 has ushered a new frontier where physical and digital systems are no longer separate, and they are converging into cyber-physical systems, real-time data, ecosystems, and highly responsive supply chains. The implications for how we manage operations are profound. We know when it comes to industry itself, this is key to ensuring that we advance. As an industrial engineer, I was trained to optimize systems, to eliminate waste and design for efficiency. But today's systems require more than just optimization. They require resilience, adaptability, and intelligence. We are moving from linear production, as when we spoke about connecting the lines, the value networks, from batch processing to mass customization, from efficiency alone to agility, visibility, and traceability. This is a domain where academic meets the operational, where theory meets execution, and also where Productivity SA plays a crucial enabling role. South Africa's operational challenges are vast. Let's turn to this operating environment, a context we all are familiar with. We are navigating in a productivity paradox. On one hand, we face persistent constraints like load shedding, energy insecurity, supply chain volatility, skills deficit in digital and operational domains, low research and development investment in manufacturing innovation, a shrinking base of productive firms as well, especially manufacturing and agro-processing. On the other hand, there's an immense potential, young, trainable talent, access to global markets, rising interest in African industrialization, and a growing recognition that's operational, not just operational, excellence focused. This tension between constraint and potential is exactly what motivates our work at Productivity SA. Productivity SA is the national entity of the Department of Employment and Labour, one of 6 entities, as you can see, that the Deputy Minister actually raised. But we're not just a consulting firm. We have a mandate to improve productivity and competitiveness in all economic sectors. With this, we are a strategic public entity, previously known as the National Productivity Institute, We've celebrated 56 years in existence, so I'm afraid to ask who has heard of us. But our mandate within the Employment Services Act is to promote employment growth, support sustainable enterprises, and enhance the productivity and competitiveness of South African firms. Our approach is very systematic. So we believe in we believe productivity is not just doing more with less, but it's about creating value sustainably, improving capabilities, and enabling firms to adapt in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Our operational interventions are enclosed, I will explain now. Let me share how we bring about these principles to life. So it's a very structured approach, but it also bridges strategy and processes with people. So our first program is the Business Turnaround and Recovery Program. It is a program that is funded through the Unemployment Fund. It is aimed at companies that are in decline or distress. So it's to prevent job losses. So those companies that are at risk, to fail, that's when we come in as Productivity SA. We apply the operational management techniques or industrial engineering, diagnostic techniques, process flow mapping, thorough analysis, cost analysis itself or cost reduction models. We restore viability. In a recent project, we managed to implement with Six Sigma tools. We reduced defects by 40%, and we reconfigured the production layout and increased the output by 25% with no additional capital investment. That's just one of the examples that we have. In saying that, we are aiming at companies that are Black-owned businesses, but also that have big multiplier effects on employment itself. From the enterprise development side of it, we actually support SMMEs. We build capacities in emerging firms. So this is through our interventions that look at SMME support itself, entrepreneurship. So from the time a company or an entrepreneur comes up with an idea, we want them to become more sustainable. It's not just about getting one job. It's about ensuring that you actually multiply and you have foundations in place as well. So in the emerging market itself or emerging firms, we adopt lean thinking. We standardize the work. We use visual management itself or visual control systems. These are the interventions that are critical for SMMEs that lack formal operational structures. In one SMME, our team implemented just a basic just-in-time, so replenishment system, where we reduced inventory holding costs by more than 30% within 3 months. Our third program is the Workplace Challenge Program, and this is the DTIC-funded program. This has just celebrated 2 years ago, 25 years with the DTIC. So it's a very successful program. It uses the clustering approach, where we actually have clustering of manufacturing clients or within sectors specifically. So we drive continuous improvement through Kaizen. 5S, team dynamics itself, the bottom-up or the top-down and bottom-up approach. Performance systems, and we also implement productivity measurements. A key part of the national competitive strategy is the Workplace Challenge Program, which is actually a supply-side intervention through Productivity SA. So what we do is to become world-class enterprises, we ensure that their suppliers are also world-class. So while we are implementing these interventions, we ensure that we also onboard within the value chain itself. So participating companies have reported an average of between 10 to 15% improvement in productivity indicators within the first 12 months of implementation. And more importantly, a shift in the mindset towards operational discipline. So this is very much a holistic approach to how business is done, where you get a manager to manage and stop firefighting. You get team members to be involved with the operations and look at innovations to improve their processes. Who better than the people that work with it on a daily basis? Now let me put on my industrial engineering hat and discuss how we help firms prepare for and integrate Industry 4.0 tools. We are actively supporting the adoption of the digital Kaizen approach. So we use IoT-based conditioning monitoring for preventative maintenance through the digital Kaizen. We've just launched and we've certified, or we're in the process of certifying through the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, looking at the most advanced tools, but bringing it down to the SMME level, where we can actually have the microcomputers that are actually implemented within the factory environment and be able to monitor as well as improve on their systems. We're doing also real-time dashboards for KPI tracking using MES systems and digital twins to model operational changes before physical implementation. We also ensure that there's AI-enabled quality control using image recognition and anomaly detection. But here's the key insight from both practices and research. Digital tools are not a substitute for operational excellence. They are the multipliers of it. So without strong process foundation, digital transformation becomes digital chaos. And that's why our focus is on operational readiness. So within Productivity SA, we're trying to equip firms with the lean systems, people capabilities, and data discipline required to succeed in the 4IR environment. So as part of my research itself, I'm exploring how operational strategy the alignment drives performance in emerging markets of enterprises. So one of the critical findings is that misalignment between operations, decisions, and overall business strategy is one of the biggest barriers to performance, especially in firms trying to adopt Industry 4.0. So for an example, a company may invest in automation but lacks basic scheduling discipline. And we see this. I know that our DTIC representatives may be here. If you all are familiar with the Black Industrialist Program, this is a DTIC intervention. And it's very popular, but it's also really need to be done in the right way. So we've seen a lot of small businesses where when they benefit from the BIS intervention, they don't have the basic foundation in place for them to actually ensure that they are optimizing their resources. They utilize the funding towards automation. We know when automation is brought into our country, it's done in a very different way. It can never be done in the way the Japanese are doing it when you buy the same machines, because it's also supply of material. It's actually the workforce involved. So there's many foundations that we have to put in place to ensure that these businesses are successful as well. Another aspect is installing ERP software, but you don't train employees on how to interpret the data. This is why operations management and leaders must become strategic integrators. We must ensure that decisions on process, capacity, technology, and workforce are aligned to business objectives. That's what we aim to enable in Productivity SA. So yes, I've been in Productivity SA for a long time, so I'm preaching, of course, here to the converted already. But this is our mandate, and that's why we look forward to engagements in ensuring that we can be able to work together to support businesses around us. The road ahead for us, the future of operations in Africa, is not just about catching up. It's about leapfrogging. Learning, we must be able to develop learning factories, which are regional hubs where people can learn by doing, public-private productivity partnerships, which exist, but we need to enhance on those, where industry, academia, and state institutions actually collaborate. We spoke about Professor Barnes that sits on our expert committee itself. So within Productivity SA, we have a program called the Workplace Challenge Program, where we have 2 representatives from business, 2 representatives from labor, 2 representatives from, he's representing academia, as well as funding agencies. So they actually help inform the strategy of the programs, because we can come out with programs, but is it addressing the needs within the industries? And that's why we say we need to enhance on public-private productivity partnerships with academia forming part of that. SME 4IR toolkits must be simplified, low-cost digital tools for emerging firms, operation academies that train the next generation of African next generation of African operations managers, engineers, and supervisors are very important. We envision a continent where every enterprise, large or small, have access to skills, systems, and support needed to thrive in the digital economy. So before I close, allow me to acknowledge that we gather here, of course, during Women's Month as well. And at this time, we honor the strength, resilience, and brilliance of women who have shaped South Africa's history and continue to drive progress. As a woman in leadership, I am a qualified industrial engineer. I am trying to, of course, achieve what you all have, which is a PhD, which is going to take me some time. But yes, it is important that we actually stand firm in what we believe as well and realize the essence of what we are and what we can achieve as well. I stand on the shoulders of pioneers who have broke the barriers in space, in these spaces that were never designed for us. And I carry a deep responsibility to make sure that the next generation of women don't just enter these fields, but they lead them, define them, and reimagine them. In the realm of operations management, engineering, and productivity, we need more women at decision-making tables, designing systems, managing factories, leading digital transformation, and driving industrial policy. Because excellence, operational or otherwise, is never achieved without inclusion. At Productivity SA, we are committed to empowering women-owned enterprises to become more competitive, promoting inclusive leadership within productivity clusters and workplace programs, and actively build gender-diverse pipelines in the future-oriented skills and industrial innovation. So during this Women's Month, let us not only celebrate the achievements of women, let us also commit to dismantling the barriers that remain. May the women in operations continue to lead with strength, clarity, and compassion. And may we all be the architects of the economy where every woman's contribution is recognized, respected, and rewarded. Can we give a round of applause for all the women in the room? So productivity is not static. It is the strategy of national renewal. So let us view operations not as a back office function, but as a frontline driver of transformation. Let us empower our people, engineers, operators, supervisors, with the tools and mindsets to lead the transformation. And let us work together across sectors, disciplines, and borders to make Africa not just a participant in Industry 4.0, but a global leader in operational excellence. Productivity SA stands ready to partner with you on this journey. Thank you, and let us build together this future. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that very insightful presentation, Ms. Naidu. I think, as you said, going into Women's Month and empowering women is a very important aspect in our society today. Thank you so much. A small gift of our appreciation. Lisa. Okay. Sorry, we have 5 minutes for questions before you sit, Ms. Naidu, if there are any questions. Do we have a roaming mic? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you for very interesting. I'm just curious if you guys have collaborations with universities. Because some of our colleagues are working for you. You employed them last year, but I can't even get any opportunities for collaboration, especially with our community engagement projects. For example, UNISA is into hospitals for optimizing healthcare. And we don't have, our industrial engineering department and operations, you can ask Anthea, we speak to her all the time. We don't have the capacity to handle these hospitals. In Joburg only, we have 2 of the biggest hospitals. And we need manpower and we need brains. Is there any opportunity? And if it's there, please tell me, how do I get into that? Thank you.
What's the answer? And then, okay. Thank you very much. If I could just get your name and... Nagra. Okay. Thank you very much for that. We do have agreements with academia. So we have currently with UJ as well as TUT, a number of entities themselves. I do know also has a part of the Industrial Engineering Board in DUT. So Stellenbosch and so forth. UNISA, we don't have a formal agreement itself. But of course, I was just chatting to Anthea as well that we do need to finalize an MOU itself. Whether we like it or not, I think everywhere there's resource constraints. Even us as an entity, we are a national entity that services all provinces. But you know what, as you said, you need capacity to go out and do it, but you also need the brains. So you guys are coming with the brains, we'll come with the capacity. But definitely we look forward to actually engaging. I think we will formalize something, but even with that, with the referrals that may come through, that's fine. So Professor Barnes has my details, even through Anthea herself. You all can actually engage with us and I will get our team to ensure that they actually follow up. But we also look forward to employing and even looking at resources within the university itself. We've actually taken on board majority of them, of course, through UNISA as well as UJ. You rightly saying some of your past students would be working for Productivity SA, but also we're looking at employment within some of the enterprises we support. On average, we support 3,200 SMMEs a year, and we support 1,500 enterprises as a whole, which are medium and large enterprises as well. So we do have a very big number of companies that we support, and therefore those that are looking for certain skills, we do like to do referrals as well. We do have a program as well where we've taken on interns, but we want to see them grow. The whole idea, we have an employment mandate. So that's very important to us. And we're hoping that the skills, and we've been engaging as well with different departments and saying part of the projects, because qualifications have changed. I know when I was doing my industrial engineering, we had P1, P2 at that time. It's very sad that it's gone, but I do understand why it's gone as well. But that experience is so important. So even getting your students involved with our projects at this time, it would be important as well. So let's maybe continue with this engagement. But I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Thank you for that, because UNISA is the only institution that has P1.
Oh, so you all still have P1, P2? Oh, that's great.
All right, sorry, our next speaker is here. I see Mr. Harmony standing. Did you have a question? Not. All right. Thank you. We'll carry on the next speaker. Thank you, Ms. Naidu. Right. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Claassen. If you can come up for us, please. Good morning. Do you have a presentation?
No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay, so you're fine. All right. Mr. Claassen is the Director of the Regional Industrial Development Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, South Africa Government. He's a Director and a Strategic Developer Leader currently serving at the Department of Trade, Industry and Compensation in Pretoria. Where he has driving economic development initiatives since 2010. He has built a distinguished career spanning over 3 decades across mining, tourism, renewable energy, and economic development sectors. His professional journey started in the mining industry, working as a technologist and project supervisor in hydro and chemical meteorology, at Anglo-American Research Laboratories. He later obtained a qualification in extraction meteorology at Wits Technikon, where he practiced a solid foundation in scientific research, process optimization, and project management. He further worked as a meteorologist at RPM Properties focusing on gold and PGM production from mine dump reclaimants around Gauteng. He's transitioned into entrepreneurship and tourism, developed in the early 2000s, where he served and established Soweto Tourism Development Associations, Big Five Joburg Tourism, and contributed to tourism infrastructure development of Soweto and Johannesburg. Mr. Claassen has recently completed a postgrad diploma in management practices from Henley Business School and holds various certificates in economic and policy development from the University of Witwatersrand and others through participation in international training programs with organizations such as the JICA, UNDP, and UNIDO, focusing on industrial clusters development and economic development zone implementation. That is really a CV of a mouthful, Mr. Claassen. Welcome, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. I am truly embarrassed that I had to put all that, I realized there were some tongue twisters there, but apologies for that. Just minor corrections. It's metallurgy, not meteorology. I know there's a difference there. So I studied metallurgy, else someone will say I have said I am something I was not. Yeah, so, good afternoon, and once again, and sincere apologies, as civil servants, we intend to work at the spur of the moment to apologize but it's a great honor, honestly, to be here, and for my sins, I've decided that I should just probably write what I have to speak about and share my thoughts with you. And as currently, it's a great honor. I am responsible for regional industrial sins. I've decided that I should just probably write what I have to speak about and share my thoughts with you. And as currently highlighted, I am responsible for regional industrial development, which to a certain extent has industrial parks, and so if you give me issues around township economy, microeconomy, so we have a fair and the Senate, it would be better if I write everything down. I was in my past life a preacher, so if you give me a microphone, you may be here for 4 hours. So in the sanity of it all is just write everything down, and then, yeah. So, and I know it's almost 30 years since South Africa have obtained its freedom and dismantled the stubborn legacies of apartheid here in South Africa. Yet today, when you drive through, of course, obviously, the many provinces of KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, you will see the physical scars that were created by this system are still etched into that landscape of the country. We see townships where unemployment exceeds more than 50%, and rural communities are disconnected from the economic opportunities through this systematically orchestrated policies and operation. Of course, this dual economy perpetuates the very inequality that we fought for, and through the blood and sweat of the other various millions of people. And this panorama, by the way, is no different than what you would also observe across the post-colonial communities of Africa. However, my posture here today is not to lament and really dwell on these challenges, but rather to promote and present to you what I believe as a transformative vision which we carry in our industrialization pattern, looking into these marginalized communities to also assist us in driving sustainable communities and prosperity into them. Many of you, of course, you would have visited the cities that have stark contradictions, such as you would find around Joburg. A case in point is what the picture you would get of Alexander, which is a few kilometers from the gleaming towers of Sandton, where young people each morning from this community are searching for work that simply does not exist in their communities. In rural communities of Mpumalanga, of course, you'd find a different picture where the struggles is for many of the farmers to add value into the crops that they are producing from many of the kilometers that it's found around their rural farming dwellings. In the Eastern Cape, the bright minds graduate from universities only to migrate to the distant cities, draining their homes of talent. And you know the various challenges that these communities are entrenched with. If you look at Eastern Cape, the rural communities where crime also tends to thrive easily. That says to us, these issues I'm talking about, they are not about geography. It's about the economic justice that we still need to have in our operation. So the quest and practice and the experience of democracy in operation is a cry and a need for every operation of our governance as we seek to deliver a promise for the future to all these. The numbers tell a stark story, of course. While South Africa is unemployment rate hovers above 47%. In many, and in these rural townships, you'll find that it's above 50%. These communities are home to more than 40 million South Africans. The townships today, if you were to visit them, you would find this reality and these challenges where you see a drove of these 67 plus unemployed youth, and many of them with a post high school qualifications, but sitting at home and not finding. And this is not, by the way, by accident. It is by design of how we have put systems and how we are putting systems, of course, that have to challenge these things. Have we addressed that by decisive policies? We are trying, but have we done enough? I think this is a question that we are saying. It spurs us into thinking about a new vision of how to catalyze these communities that I'm referring to. We have got what we call eco-industrial parks, which we believe as a vision, they put together a catalyst for change for these communities. Today, I want to share fundamentally that vision that has to alter what we see today. We call and we speak of reimagine industrial strategy at the DTIC, and broadly promoting the same for the state. We don't want just to create jobs, but to create ecosystems of opportunities for all these communities. We're looking at reimagining manufacturing that doesn't pollute, but heals our environment. Imagine a development that doesn't extract wealth from communities, but builds within it. This is a promise of the eco-industrial parks strategy and vision. Integrated spaces where industry, communities, business, environment work together in harmony to create prosperity for all its people. Of course, we will see what are the learnings from different countries and different spaces. In Denmark, this is a commonly practiced thing where you find that a simple steam sharing agreement between power plants and pharmaceutical companies have evolved into the world's most successful industrial ecosystem. Waste from one company becomes raw materials for another. Steam, water materials flow between facilities in carefully orchestrated cycles. The results, 25% reduction in resource costs, 240,000 tons of carbon equivalents offset by these emissions annually, and a thriving industrial community that has sustained prosperity for decades. In South Korea, of course, where most of the area is urbanized, and you see quite a lot of heavy industries there through their complex models that are found there. You still find as well resource efficient systems being in place. Through government leadership and systematic planning, they reduce water consumption by 30% while creating thousands of green jobs. Today, of course, in South Africa, that's still an aspiration because we haven't even deepened into the SMMEs, putting and pushing these operations into their system of everyday business. But perhaps the most relevant to our context is what you would know about Chinese experience. China is one of our members of the BRICS, and some of us have been, and we have sent quite a number of candidates and officials and other supporting structures in institutions and organizations to some of these learnings in China. There's an area called Tianjin, which also is where the eco-industrial park is thriving, and integrated community development in ways that offer powerful lessons for South Africa's townships and rural communities. What are the opportunities for South Africa? And why should we believe this can work also in South Africa? Because we have unique advantage of many things at our disposal. If you look at, we've got systems for transformation that are available. We've got materials that we need to operationalize and implement what we usually refer to as beneficiation strategy of the state. It's not only the DTIC, it's not only Department of Mineral Petroleum, but also across other sister departments, such as those in electricity, transport as well. If you look at the opportunities presented by the renewable energy, is among the world's best. I know we talk too much about green energy, and that's provided because of the multifaceted I think opportunities that presented by our industrial opportunities as we do various commodities. Yeah, unfortunately, of course, as South Africa, we still continue to give these materials elsewhere just as primary instead of beneficiating more. Secondly, we have a policy framework that's actually seeks to change and transform all these things. The National Development Plan is one key instrument that we all need to embody and really thrive to accentuate through every platform. It seeks to integrate sustainable development. So you would find in it our Green Economy Accord, which creates incentives for green industrialization. That's an opportunity so that when we look at every one of our operations through what the world has adopted as our need, when we look at the environmental chaos that's currently at play, we need to adopt and be very aggressive at green industrialization opportunities. Thirdly, we have sites for these where we have seen this practice here in South Africa. We can look at Guga, where we are practicing similar things. We can look at the area of Richards Bay, where we are also putting these. These we do in partnership with our sister international organizations, such as the UNIDO, which is the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, the GIZ, the German, complementary of that seeks to work with us, that works with us in those avenues, and SECO, which is the Swiss also, where we've got a partnership. We currently have a partnership with UNIDO, where there is an agreement to do these global eco-industrial parks in South Africa, where we also have shared lessons with our colleagues in Egypt, our colleagues in the Americas, and also in various other Asian countries. We believe this is a good framework for us for transformation. But let me say some few phases for you. The foundational of where we need to start. First, we need to have to make sure that foundation is built. The foundational buildings start where we adopt those strategic sites. Currently in South Africa, we have adopted such sites. They are what we used to call state-owned industrial parks that are dilapidated or that were less cared for and lacked that care from the authorities that are governing or those that are taking care of them. These are places where we have found that there's most industrial activities helping both the townships and the rural communities, whilst at the same time it links them to the many industrial opportunities and other multinationals. In the case of Gauteng, bordering Gauteng and Northwest, we find what we call cross-border industrial parks there. Most, of course, now they are a reflection of the past. They are in a very, very bad state, and this is where the intervention has now come in to try and do and convert some of those into learning and skills building hubs, so that we can start now growing the issue of industrialization bottom up, using skills as part of our nexus in terms of transformation. If you look at the Eastern Cape, for example, you'd find that there are quite active automotive clusters that are existing, and also agricultural industries. But the opportunities, especially around agricultural opportunities, agricultural industries, it's still at a very low level there. And it needs this integrated approach in terms of eco-industrialization approach. The third, of course, element is that we need to have a very strong community integration in this framework that is pursuing eco-industrial parks. We see that when we do that, we are also inviting the landowners, which are the traditional landowners, working with the municipalities and making sure that the land is entrusted to the right people using proper governance so that it can give us the good, results in terms of our targets and performances, jobs and skills. Now, we are talking about where communities can own their own trust shares through trust, can own shares in this eco-industrial infrastructure. We have seen in a number of these, we have got a living example of how they benefit into that. Let me make an example of one case in point of an industrial park that's found in Limpopo. It is called Nkuankua. It's in Tzaneen. You find there one of the big companies, which is not so commonly known, but it exports to 26 countries. It's been there for 27 years in that industrial park. And this company also, through its multiplier, also employs about 40,000 people through the farmers that are outside there. Inside the park itself, it employs 6,000 people. This has been done through a partnership with government. We are now moving second phase into growing the whole region through this systematic approach, making sure that the opportunities presented through supplier development and enterprise development opportunities are made available. But let me emphasize that without us taking these baby steps into attending to these very critical elementary work where we fix the bulk of the infrastructure in those parks, we put security in those parks, we will never get the operations and address the scourge of unemployment which we currently find in many of these. Let me also highlight the opportunities that is presented by the operations as we see so-called renewable energies, whether it's solar or any other alternative energy use. It presents to us a very great opportunities for us to systematically build skills for these communities to enable them to participate in meaningful economic ventures. I think economic numbers do matter in economic impact rather. If you look at it, a 500 hectare eco-industrial park in a rural area can stand to create between 3,000 and 5,000 direct jobs. It can generate between 6,000 and 10,000 indirect jobs through the multipliers effect. It can attract between 2 and 4 billion in over its 10-year span as you develop it. It can generate more than 500 to 1 billion annual in procurement spend, local, sourcing that. It can reduce also the carbon equivalent emissions to about 50,000 tons per year. That's why our drive and ambition, honestly, is to make sure that the industrialization areas, such as your industrial parks, do decarbonize and are assisted through by the many faceted call, such as utilization of those green opportunities that are presented, green technologies through investment that come. When we create an industrial park in a township or a rural economy, we are just not building factories. We are building ecosystems of opportunity that can sustain prosperity. The answer lies in recognizing that environmental degradation and economic equality are two sides of the same coin. The communities that suffers most from pollution are often the same communities that are excluded from the economic opportunity. So the industrial economy, the eco-industrial parks flips this equation because it creates good job precisely by protecting and restoring the environment. It also allows the communities there to generate a prosperity by being resource efficient, thus building their own community wealth through various means, whether it's through blockchain or through their community chests, but there are various methods and models that are utilized. In the South African context, this means the same, that turning, for example, the many mining tailings or dams into construction sites. You know, in the area of one of the poorest provinces and districts, being the Free State, you find these many mining dams, because most of these areas have now become mining ghost towns. This is where now, if you look at the costs, or rather the wealth that still lies there in terms of these mining dams, if they are to be reworked and reprocessed, they can turn into a prosperity for that. And there is a move here and there, but we need to be careful on how we do mining, because if you extract in the old format and systems, you will equally be contributing to a problem. So balancing that through an eco-industrial parks approach, where you look at the overall region and ecosystem of industrialization, presents a very, I think, compelling case. We also talk about a converting of waste, especially agricultural waste, into renewable energy. There's opportunity for that, presented by us. We just experienced, was it load shedding that we experienced? Or it's just a tripping of electricity? Yes. So, and we need also to transform the informal settlement waste streams into economic opportunities. I think in as much as I made an example of when you look at the area of Sandton and Alexander, sometimes, you know, you find these, many of the most affluent communities in South Africa, they are unfortunately surrounded by a sea of informal settlement. Everywhere you look, whether it's in Pretoria, in Joburg, whether it's in Cape Town, the story is the same. And you can imagine the pollution that comes from those wastes that these communities blocking in a way that sometimes often results as flooding and all these kind of things. We need to be environmentally aware of these things and how we construct and build these new cities through eco-industrial parks approach. Again, it's better to have green jobs that are paying a living wage for the communities, using simple, because the gap between the rich and poor, the rising percentage of unemployed people, it's a concern for all of us that when we think of any operation, any planning, we need to infuse these elements I'm referring to. Environmental justice in action is what we need. We need to ensure that transition to the green economy still creates opportunities for all, especially South Africa and overall African countries, so that we don't now be left with another burden post these, I think, practices. So, in summary, what does this practice look like? And how do we do it in terms of the things that we've been doing? We do quite a lot of community consultation process as we speak to many of the stakeholders that run this. We speak to business, we speak to academia, we've got forums that we've established, we've got standing national dialogues, we work with security, because we also did a study together with National Treasury that indicated that most of the crime, if it happens around the industrialized areas, it tends to chase all the investors away. And that creates a serious problem. Hence our intervention in making sure that our stakeholder facilitation is deepened and speaks to the residents and the community leaders there. We also speak greatly to labor. We have a good sweetheart relationship with NEDLAC and his partners, of course, so that we can work together and jointly form I think, a winning a proposition and planning together with the labor movement and the unions to help us build the skills. As we know, the issues of just transition through what we're talking about, it's not going to be easy if we do not really assist this community. One other thing that's also very important about this model, it's a shared value, profit sharing system and model. It ensures participation and benefits to the communities, ensuring that they understand and they grow, they get skills, and they also got opportunity. I think you will remember that one of the things in South Africa that we speak about is when one looks for a job, especially those who are young, they would always be asked about experience. It is, honestly, we need to present a platform where we can create job opportunities for them to be skilled at least a 2-year. The short courses, unfortunately, they don't cut it, because still, whether somebody's got a 3 months, a 6 months, a year, less than a year, it's not usually recognized as a sufficient experience. This is also our push in ensuring that we do realize, we work towards the vision of really bringing down this. I know you may say this sounds wonderful, but where does the money come from to actually pursue this dream? Currently, and as you know, that our fiscus here in South Africa is not doing that well. We can't even fund our coffees and teas when we have meetings. So if you come to us for a meeting, we'll ask you to pay for your lunch and your coffee. No, I'm joking. I'm sure we can work around that one. So, but we've got different models that we have embarked on, where we are assisting interested parties such as these industrial parks to reform, but also investors that come into the country. We do work with our funding partner, which is the state, the National Treasury. Through its various mechanisms, they allow us to create incentives at the DTIC, which are around issues of ensuring that we partner with municipalities, with investors in issues of infrastructure, building of these firms in terms of operations, in terms of infrastructure, firms where they really operate from. But also we have got other incentives where we ensure that there's some tax brackets relief in terms of people that employ certain types of skills. And also I know the Department of Labor has got a plethora also of offerings there. We work with our sister organizations or departments rather in the space of transport, in the space such as the state-owned enterprises, your Transnet, so that we can ensure that artisanry skills find traction in utilizing the assets in these industrial spaces. We know, of course, that it cannot just be perfect through it all, but we do have these systems that are in place as we do all of this. So there is a call for us, to all of us, to be in action. A call for all of us to understand that South Africa is indeed at a crossroad. And we can continue to operate as if nothing is happening. But the crisis at the grassroots is deep. It needs all of us to join hands and build and add into the ecosystem that I've just alluded to. I know, of course, this is not the only solution, but it is also a very critical when we speak about how do we get some of these cohorts as we find them. We are here, but when we look outside, we are always affected by what's happening outside the external environment. And unless we jointly all come together, it would be futile for whatever we do share. I want to thank you all as here at the Africa Operations Management Conference, and for inviting us as the DTIC to share some of these thoughts. I would not want to belabor. I had written quite a lot of things, but I think it would suffice to share our dreams and our vision in terms of what, with respect to currently what we are doing on the ground as the DTIC. We have got various programs where we've learned from as we implement, I think, especially economic zones, industrial parks, and also just direct investors working with various other countries to try and deepen what we need to take the country forward. Thank you to you all.
Thank you, Mr. Clausen, for such an insightful presentation. We have some time for questions, if there are any questions.
Supposed to look there. Sorry.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I just wanted you to take a picture so that you can keep your smile before my questions.
Do you have a pen for me?
Just 2 points that I want to. I think I'll refer to them as comments, but they have an element of question there. My name is Joe Amadi Echendu. You talk about the eco-industrial parks, and you give an example of South Korea, because I've been there a few times, and I sort of got to understand some of what they were trying to do. Our eco-industrial parks should not be disconnected from the indigenous knowledge. That is one thing that the South Koreans won't tell you, but when you actually study what they did, what they located, where they located, had to do with the indigenous knowledge there, because it made it easier for the local people to get on board. So just something for you to bear in mind. So my question is, are we establishing these things, bearing in mind existing in this indigenous knowledge in that area, because it makes it easier for the people to get on board? Then the other one is something that comes out of the social justice that the Deputy Minister spoke about. What we refer to as communities in South Africa, Khayelitsha is not a community. Clocolan is not a community. I'm just using some of the bigger townships that you know about. Alexandra, for example, is something that grew out of building Sandton. So it wasn't necessarily a community. Now, if you go into Davidton or any of these places, you find that we don't actually have communities. We have groups. Because this particular group from Limpopo lives in that area. This group from KwaZulu-Natal lives in that area. Now, when you start establishing an eco-industrial park and you don't destroy that, you have a problem. I don't know whether you've experienced this.
Coupled with that, I also would like to ask, you've mentioned that it takes 10 years to establish one of these industrial parks and that you establish them within communities. My husband and I visited an industrial park in Egypt where they actually created living arrangements within the industrial park for people working at the park. You're doing it the other way around. From that perspective, how do you ensure skills and all the other requirements are in place, or that you're building that sufficiently for the required positions to be filled? You've mentioned a lot of benefits associated with establishing these industrial parks that ranges from environmental to employment to economic and whatever. But how many of these are we actually establishing at the moment? And what would facilitate a rapid expansion of industrial parks if those are the benefits associated with them? Thank you.
Okay. Let me make an attempt to answer you. Now, the eco-industrial park model in South Africa, precisely, it's still at its infancy stage. what we have done together with our partners, UNIDO and SECO, the Swiss guys, so they are partnering in terms of building the capacity on these existing industrial spaces. So you'd find that some of these industrial spaces, there are about 15 that we would call industrial parks. However, it's not 15 we have in South Africa, case in point. We've got more than that. More than 500. But 15 of those, we'll call them, because of their size and the number of companies that they have, they would fit into a category which we'll call them industrial parks. These were formerly state-owned industrial parks, homeland-owned industrial parks, So, and they were designed to give low-income earners opportunity for jobs and things like that through the old system of apartheid, where Homeland was sponsored, and then mostly it's Asian companies, and I can go down and drill down on those. So you would find that if you look, they were disconnected, I agree, from the indigenous knowledge. If you look at the one in the KZN, we've got one of the biggest one, Isiteme. It's surrounded by a rural community, but also there's a mushrooming of townships there. And at its peak, it used to employ more than 120,000 people, that industrial park. Currently, it's employing anything between 20,000 above, It's got about 200 companies still in that. It's not well cared for, but these are the efforts now we're making so that we put all these systematic, operations in place. These spaces are also owned by the traditional leaders. This is where now we've infused the indigenous knowledge to appreciate the owners of the land, because historically it's been the municipalities. So the failures of municipalities in South Africa speaks for themselves, and hence now we're trying to find a better way to coordinate and govern these assets so that we don't leave them to the province just as a funder national, but we are also partaking in governing and bringing in systems that assist them. So there are these learnings, and I appreciate what you've just said. Now, when we look at an industrial park that seeks to express certain indigenous knowledge about itself, there's a place called KwaMhlaba Uyalingana, a very difficult tongue twister. But those who've been there will tell you what happens there. Anybody knows where KwaMhlaba Uyalingana is? Huh? They heard of it. You should visit there. They say there they are able to create lightning, you know that? Yeah, they can create lightning. No, I don't know, but they say that, But of course, it's known for its wealth about in terms of natural herbs and things like that are found there. But they've never used that opportunity. So we are working towards, there's a deep study that was done. So industrialization around that is going to take the form of them using their natural resources, turn them into processes, additives from pharmaceuticals and other applications. I once visited with UNIDO a plant in Egypt. I think it was in a place called Shachem or something like that, where, of course, through the German knowledge, they built such a center. They started with it, health, and built all these additives, and they were exporting them to Germany. Now it's a huge community in that area, thriving. So they use also the eco-industrial cluster model that we were referring to. Yes, and I agree that these communities, such as you find in Alexander, it's an example. If we can, go to the granular, diagnosis of it, we will find that yes, it is true. It's, when you are coming from anywhere in South Africa and you want to come to Gauteng, you first start in Alexander. You don't have papers, you start there, because there you are able to hide. You get yourself familiarized with the township, what is a township, and thereafter, So that's how Alexander is structured, and that's how it's always been, whether you like it or not, but that's the reality. People that come from Zim, from Malawi, they start there, they transition there, and then they get to know what do you call it? They survey the land, you know. And then after that, once they get a good grasp, there is also sent in the Joburg there. So they learn quite a lot and fast, and then later, you know. I'm not talking about them finding legal papers or not, but I'm just talking about what usually happens. It's an interesting, because so I do agree that it is still a grouping, but there are communities separate. You could call them groups. And through the modalities, of course, it's complex to work anything in Alexandra because of its proximity to another industrial area in Kew. There are industrial areas that Marlborough is an example there. So in Alexandra, you'd find it's only a place where people would go to sleep and wake up and go to work somewhere. So we rather would want to develop, as we work with the city of Joburg, to identify those nodes that drive industrialization in Gauteng. You know, Gauteng, especially in the Sandton area, it's a financial hub, economic hub. They don't do that much of heavy manufacturing and things like that. So we try to understand and work within those systems as we assist also some of the entities. I think the issue of the number of years, yes, in terms of starting up a sort of a green field industry, you know, yes, it would take 10 years for you to reach its sustainability. But commonly, with what we've been involved in, it should take less than that. Although we are involved in sustaining the current operations there, most of them are job shedding, and that's a huge crisis. You know, if you look at Northwest as an example, we had 2 of the most powerful, actually 3 of the most powerful industrial parks, but they were, I think, through poor management and many other things, they are not able to sustain the investors there. One of the biggest things, top on the list, it's crime, security. The second one, it's the decaying infrastructure. So obviously, if you don't have those things, they are strategically located around very strategic routes, you know, or roads, as we find. But they are not able to sustain those because of crime and poor infrastructure. And I think in the area of Isithebe as well, you would find that in the area of Isithebe, we've tried to address the issues of skills through building of digital hubs so that we can introduce the youth and many of the companies that are operating there through digital platform, digitization of some of the things that they do. Without that, most businesses will have to kiss their operations goodbye if they don't digitize and they are not given the opportunity and skill. And also, we are very aggressive again in working with different departments in making sure that we build what we call artisanal hubs, where we link with what the government's infrastructure spend in terms of rolling out the, let's say, the area of PRASA, you know, the trains, the rail, where you have to link that with the pull from the unemployed youth, but give them opportunities to be skilled through TVET colleges and creating those avenues. But the spaces where they need to work, they need to operate, we take care of that through the arrangement of these industrial parks. There are many, of course, sectors that we focus in, depending on the region itself where that industrial park is located. Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Clausen.